Jimmy Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings more than anything else, and he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk. And Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for lack of talent.
Not true in the slightest, and a complete deflection.
Charlie said, that there was no such thing as hate speech. He obviously, no one anticipated what happened to Charlie, but you have always been.
Now. Meanwhile, the president of the United States made these comments. If anyone else did, they would be doxxed, fired, and probably threatened.
Cowardice fascists and billionaires have done it. They are starting the erosion of free speech, and all autocracies, all dictatorships, they start with comedians. It might seem like it's not that big of a deal, but it is a big effing deal, you guys. This is coercion. This is bullying. This is a direct attack on free speech. This is MAGA's Reichstag fire. That's what this is. They are using this to erode civil rights, and they are saying, you can't call us fascists. You can't call us fascists. You started this. The fact of the matter is they are fascists, and this is a fascist move that dictators use, and it cannot stand in the United States of America. Period. These billionaires are cowards. They are bending over for this weak, demented man who could give two shits about Charlie Kirk getting shot. He's way more into his ballroom.
Jennifer Welch of the I've Had It podcast spoke on it, as did many others.
Now, this decision tonight has raised many questions beyond the actions of an individual company. That's because this announcement comes just hours after we heard from the FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, in an interview where he said that Jimmy Kimmel should be removed over his comments about Charlie Kirk's killing.
When you look at the conduct that has taken place by Jimmy Kimmel, it appears to be some of the sickest conduct possible. As you've indicated, there are, avenues here for the FCC. So there are some ways in which I need to be a little bit careful, because we could be called ultimately to be a judge on some of these claims that come up. Look, there's calls for Kimmel to be fired. I think, you could certainly see a path forward for suspension over this. And again, the FCC is going to have remedies that we could look at.
That is Brendan Carr, a former FCC staffer who is leading the agency for now a second time, as he was appointed by Donald Trump for, you guessed it, a second time.
Why are these billionaires obeying? The number one rule to fighting this is you don't obey in advance. And when this gets taken to the courts, you guys, it's undefeated. But these billionaire corporations are playing this short-term game. If you think there might not be an economic impact in this, you're mistaken. Once you start eroding civil rights and you start eroding the courts, investors flee, the currency falls, and we're already starting to see this happen. Chinese investors are not buying soybeans anymore. We're seeing the dollar drop. So for all of you fiscal conservatives that get your panties in a wad because somebody called you a fascist, look in the mirror, because you're a fascist that supports fascists.
We will address that first point momentarily.
When Stephen Colbert announced that his late night show was being canceled back in July, the president of the United States, Donald Trump, had a chilling reaction.
Fallon has no talent. Kimmel has no talent. They're next. They're going to be going. I hear they're going to be going. I don't know, but I would imagine, because they get, Colbert has better ratings than Kimmel or Fallon. You know that.
And this is just the latest chapter in Donald Trump's ongoing campaign to crack down on free speech, dominate the media, and essentially render the First Amendment meaningless.
This is what so many on the right do not understand. They will not stop at those who call out the Trump admin. They will be coming after you too in due time.
This seems like a big attack on free speech. And I think we've been pretty staunchly in favor of free speech. And it is funny to watch right-wing people just become left-wing people. Because I said something about how you're a snowflake if you think you should be. If you agree with this, that's some snowflake. And somebody was like, you clearly don't even know what the First Amendment means. And that's exactly what left-wing people used to tell me. Yeah. Freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom from consequences.
Right.
So y'all have just switched.
Yeah.
Now, again, this has nothing to do with what happened to Charlie Kirk. That's a horrendous thing. Let's get that out of the way. But in terms of censorship, freedom of speech is more under attack now, honestly, than I think it has ever been. I don't know if that's me being hyperbolic.
Maybe. I mean, as far as what Jimmy said, I think it's untrue, or at least unfair.
I don't agree with what he said. I don't like what he said. We should also say that. I don't agree with what he said. I don't like what he said. He should be allowed to say it. And what happened to Charlie Kirk is worse. Charlie Kirk should have been allowed to say the things we didn't like. Jimmy Kimmel should be allowed to say the things we didn't like. That's just what America is.
Yeah.
Akash Singh, a man on Flagrant who hosted Donald Trump on Andrew Schultz's show and played a role in ushering in fascism, suddenly has thoughts.
Sinclair, another owner of many local TV stations, said that it would also suspend Mr. Kimmel's program and called on Mr. Kimmel to apologize and make a meaningful personal donation to Mr. Kirk's family and the activist political group Turning Point USA. Do you think that's an appropriate remedy of the situation?
I think Sinclair has every right to call for that. Again, Sinclair affiliates with Disney. They take Disney contract. They have a contractual relationship with Disney, and that's between the two of them to figure out, what's going to make sense to make both of them comfortable with the relationship going forward. But again, over the years, it would be unthinkable for Sinclair, for Nexstar, for local TV stations to actually say, you know what? We're not going to take this particular programming that's coming out of New York and Hollywood and send it to Pennsylvania and Utah. And so the idea that local broadcasters feel like they can push back.
Here's even more with FCC Chair Brendan Carr, who wrote a chapter for Project 2025.
These are these emotionally stunted, broken people. And this guy, Brendan Carr, at one point, he has a whole Twitter history of having clarity about the First Amendment, of having clarity about government overreach. And like Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz and all of these others, the minute they cave to Kanks, the minute they do it the very first time, they become worse and worse and worse. And then their whole identity is everything they do it for an audience of one. It's unbelievable how many people surrounding this man are just so morally bankrupt.
The left already, starting with Humpty Dumpty, fake news, CNN, J.B. Pritzker, Gavin Newsom, predictably claiming this is conservative censorship. The MAGA crowd, Donald Trump got Jimmy Kimmel. That is false. I can't find a single prominent conservative voice in the country that even remotely wanted or hoped or was pushing to get Jimmy Kimmel taken off the air.
I just like to play the game of what if it was the other way around and genuinely wonder what the reaction from conservatives would be if, say, Sean Hannity was pulled off the air for comments he has repeatedly made, or Jesse Waters, or Laura Ingraham, Brian Kilmeade, etc. We all know what would happen.
You know who Jimmy Kimmel is?
I'm afraid I don't.
He's a late night talk show. He was taken off the air for making a joke about how Donald Trump responded to Charlie Kirk's death.
That son of a... Well, it doesn't surprise me. Nobody can say anything. This country is beginning to sound like Putin's Russia, or you probably don't even know who I'm talking about.
You're going to say McCarthy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I get apoplectic about that because 2 people in my family got caught in that mess.
In the Red Scare.
Uh-huh. And I got caught in the Lavender Scare, but that's another story.
People were turning in people for being gay.
That's right.
Yeah. They're asking people to turn in their coworkers for sure. If they hear them say something that they don't like about Charlie Kirk.
Why does that sound familiar? Like the wheels turning again. Time doesn't go straight, it goes in a circle. But you know who the real villains in this whole thing are? 60-some% of American voters who didn't.
I love you for that. It's true.
My family's lived in this town since the 1850s, and we had many generations we could not even vote for a school board. Burns me up. There are people that think this is some kind of a game. It is a privilege. Half the world can't.
Let's also remember who we're dealing with here. A direct quote from 2 CNN journalists. Carr rose to prominence in the year 2024 after he wrote the chapter on the FCC in the conservative blueprint known as Project 2025 from the Heritage Foundation. In it, he railed against technology and media companies' censorship of right-wing content and values and promotion of DEI programs. He wrote that among the agency's top priorities would be reining in big tech, and now they they've bent the knee. Via the Times, Mr. Carr launched investigations into DEI, pushing to dismantle them, then slashed regulations on broadband companies. In January, he would reinstate complaints against CBS, NBC, and ABC, accusing the broadcasters of political biases. Importantly, of course he didn't mention Fox, importantly, in a complaint filed to the FCC in October 2024 against 60 Minutes, which airs on CBS, a conservative group accused the network of editing, remember, the Kamala Harris interview to, quote, make her look good? Carr went on to link the CBS complaint to its parent company, Paramount's $8 billion deal to merge with Skydance, which was under review at Carr's FCC for approval. In early July, Paramount settled the Trump lawsuit, and just weeks later, Carr approved the merger. Rolling Stone has more. The decisions by Nexstar and ABC to silence Jimmy Kimmel over really innocuous statements is the latest sign of how terrified major corporations and specifically media companies are of the Trump admin a second time around. The president and his lieutenants are making it clear they're willing to leverage the full weight of the feds against networks and their parent companies, especially if a TV personality or a comedian says things that annoy Donald Trump. That's how thin-skinned they are. In conclusion, Carr's demand that licensed broadcasters refuse to air Kimmel's show and Nexstar's quick compliance with this request comes as, you guessed it once more, the company's preparing a merger that will require Carr and the FCC's approval. Nexstar is already America's largest owner of TV stations, and its $6.2 billion merger with Tegna would allow them to get even bigger. Hey, I appreciate you watching. Now, if you can, please do become a channel member by going to youtube.com/TYT Sports and clicking the join button. If that's too much for you, you can just go to TYT.com/join to become a member. It helps all of us out here at the Young Turks and keeps our network afloat. In addition, you could follow me on my socials on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate the love. Have a great day.